Here we go. All right. I'm Coach Horn, and this is
Coach Death.
Now, yes, you know you like it. All right,
Coach
guys.
Groves, the one and only.
We're gonna have a little fun today. We're gonna talk about some stuff that's way back, but at the same time that you can deal with it. Like right now, it's amazing. We're gonna talk about, let's go in alphabetical order, artifacts and fossils.
Yeah,
Yes.
a little archaeology in the house. We're going to talk about what some of these words mean, guys, as we get into early man.
Who would you say is the most famous archaeologist in all of America? I bet he's not even an archaeologist. Who do you think?
Is this fact or fiction?
Well, like a lot of people say, like the greatest boxer of all time is Rocky Balboa.
Who is?
You've never heard that before?
Yeah. I've actually heard, make sure you clock out. I've actually heard real boxers talk about how Rocky is their favorite fighter. Rocky's not even real.
Not even fighter.
Rocky's a movie.
So go back to my question. Who is the most famous archaeologist?
Well, if we're using that, it has to be... Da, 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 da.
Da, da, da. Wait, is that the
Da, da, da.
That sounded like the A-Team for a second.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones, yes. All right.
Indiana Jones.
Hey, we're going to be looking at what archaeologists do.
Real ones.
And you might be one day. Anyway, so we're going to look at fossils, artifacts. So this is what archaeologists do. They dig up fossils and artifacts from the past. Tell us about fossils, Coach.
Well, fossils, guys, are anything that was once alive. It is no longer alive. So we're talking about bones, shells. It could be even poop. It could even be poop. That is a fossil.
So a fossil is a remain of something
that was alive.
Yeah. So I know that probably the most common fossil that I know of and I've found myself, you probably have found, are shark teeth. Teeth from sharks. Go on down to the beach. They're all over the place. Watch out. You'll step on them. They cut your foot.
Yep,
they're all over the place. Yes.
That's exactly right.
All right. Artifacts now.
Oh, that's different.
Okay, they are different. It's anything that's made by the hands of humans. It's been made by us.
Artifacts.
And they're really old. Yeah. Basically the same thing. Can be found near each other from time to time.
So certain groups of people dig for fossils and artifacts so that they can learn about ancient cultures that we don't know a whole lot about.
Hello, I'm Ryan, and I'm an archaeologist. Soon, you're going to come to visit us at the Museum of London's Archaeological Archive to become archaeologists yourself. What is archaeology? So imagine an archaeologist. What are they doing? Are they an adventurer digging for treasure? We do dig to find artifacts from the past. But that's not where our job finishes. We use them as clues to find out about people in the past. It can be tricky. The artifacts don't tell us their story. Instead, we have to piece it together ourselves. How does archaeology work? As they peek out the ground, we start to ask questions. What have we found? What's it made from? Why is it that shape? Is it complete? Let's explore the artifacts to find the answers. It's hard, brown beige, almost like a tree, but the shape isn't right. And what are these holes? They're our clue. It's a huge animal bone. This bone is a vertebrae, part of the spine. It's much bigger than most animals, but it's so light. It must be from a sea creature. Its size and weight tells us it's a killer whale. Why have we found killer whale bones in London? They're like open water, like the Atlantic. Where it was found might tell us more. This bone was one of many found along the Thames in the city. It's from the medieval period, a time when boats would dock here, full of goods to sell. Did this bone come to London with a fisherman as something curious to sell or show off in London's markets? Or perhaps Perhaps the killer whale found its own way up the Thames and got stuck. What do you think? Do you think the killer whale got lost? Or that someone in the past brought it to London? We'll probably never know the real answer, but it's exciting to imagine what could have happened and to ask so many questions of our city's past. This is just one of the millions of artifacts we have from London. What will you discover when you visit us? And what questions will you ask?
Yeah, you can find what's cool about these artifacts is they don't have to actually be things that you dig up. It could be the paintings of the people of the past. They could be maybe they had their hand on a wall and they blew paint on it and left their handprint behind. That would be an artifact. It's really cool stuff out there. What some other things could be an artifact? What you think of?
How about money? Yeah, that's a good one. Gold,
coins.
silver, any type of natural substances that could be used as money. I know that even plastic and beads and little trinkets and jewelry, all of those things are artifacts that could be used as money.
Let me throw out something cool. Check this out. So a lot of boats, way back in the day when they had nothing but sailboats or rowboats, sink to the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea, the Atlantic Ocean. We've come along with our super radars and all this stuff, find them, and inside the boats, they still have pottery that has like a vat of wine that's still in there. It's like 2,000 feet under the sea, and it's wine. I'm not going to say drinkable wine, but it's there, sealed up, still there. Great artifacts. We're pulling them up today. Oh man, it's amazing.
Even
stuff.
the boat that sank is an artifact, Coach. Like all of it.
Yes, it's awesome. All right, let's talk about two extremely famous fossils.
Yeah.
Who'd you like to start with first?
I think we should start with a girl's name. She was on Charlie Brown.
He was kind of that mean one, huh?
Yeah, Lucy. Her name is Lucy. We're going to start with Lucy. So Lucy is going to be an early fossil that was found in Africa. And we learned a lot about early mankind from this article.
All right, so I hope you enjoy this video you're about to see about Lucy. And here it is.
So we're in the airport in Addis, and we're about to board this little plane and fly over the Lucy site, home of Australopithecus afarensis, with Don Johansen, one of my childhood heroes, who has one of the original maps he used to work this place. I mean, how utterly cool is this? Hey, Don.
Here we are.
How you doing?
Great. Welcome aboard.
I can't
You ready
tell you
for
how-
this
I am. I can't tell you how
exciting
excited I am.
adventure?
Excited is one word.
Look at those rocks. Boom, 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 boom. Just totally stretched out. As a paleontologist, that is what I dream about.
Now see the volcanic ash cropping out? That's 3.4 million years old.
That is incredible.
One of our unique characteristics is walking on two legs. The question is, what did our ancient two-legged ancestors look like? A fossil found here in the Afar region of Ethiopia gives us a pretty good idea. Don's taking me to see where he found a 3.2 million year old hominid known as Lucy.
It was a Sunday morning back in 1974. So I came up here, looked at this, had no idea what was waiting. It was right in this area, right here. What I saw was a fragment of bone, and I looked at it and almost instantaneously said, that's a hominid.
Wow.
Once we broke that 3 million year barrier, it was a whole new picture of what our earliest ancestors looked like. One of the most exciting moments of my entire career.
Lucy made headlines around the world because although she looked a lot like an ape, she walked on two legs. She was a biped, and at that stage, the most ancient anyone had ever found.
Beautiful view of the camp.
Her bones are some of the best evidence we have for what early bipeds looked like.
Now, of course, if this were all articulated properly, you know, the vertebra on top of one another, she'd be about 3.5 feet tall. You don't see that.
Yeah, you don't get that.
Here's the femur,
That's the left.
top end of the thigh bone.
And this one also, I mean, when you put it all together, now you have, you know, this is telling bipedal, this
Right.
is giving a hint of bipedal.
This certainly tells it was bipedal. That can't in like that, which is very characteristic. Our knees are close together and they come up to the side. The chimps come straight up. So that's another very important aspect.
Having the upper and lower leg in a straight line is no good for a biped. It makes for an awkward, waddling gait. Lucy's legs formed an angle. Her knees were close together, just like our own knees. This positions the feet directly underneath the body, making walking easier and more efficient.
There we are.
Lucy walked much like us, but she wasn't human. She had many primitive features too.
Isn't it interesting? They had the pile of bones. You put her here, and all of a sudden you could see that it was a living person.
She's beautiful.
Yep. Thank you. We named her after the people and the land. We named her Australopithecus afarensis, from the Afar region.
So imagine if Lucy was here with us right now. What would she look like?
Well, she'd be short. She's only about 3.5 feet tall. And the one thing that would be familiar to us, that she would be walking upright. But with those long arms, reaching almost down to her knees, she'd probably have a very odd gait. And as she got closer, we'd see that she had a very ape-like face. I think in many ways she'd look like the ape that stood up.
Yeah, amazing.
You know?
Yeah.
Like the ape that stood up.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Lucy gives us a glimpse of a key moment in our evolutionary history. She tells us that by 3.2 million years ago, our ancestors had committed to walking on two legs.
Since the discovery of her bones in 1974, scientists have long wondered what killed our most famous human ancestor, Lucy. Researchers found the skeleton sticking out of a shallow stream bed in Ethiopia. The bones have since provided new insight about life for early humans more than 3 million years ago. But how did Lucy end up there? We spoke with the lead University of Texas anthropologist who suggests she died after falling from a tree.
It would have been a collision of about 60 kilometers per hour, which is over 35 miles an hour, bang, hitting the ground that fast.
UT's John Kappelman says fractures in her bones suggest she came down feet first, tumbled forward, and stretched out her arms to break the fall. Death quickly followed.
And to create this sort of damage in a bone-healthy individual, which Lucy was, and we know that from the CAT scans we've done at her, it would have been a high impact, a high energy traumatic event to the shoulder.
Dr. Kappelman and his team reached this conclusion by scanning Lucy's skeleton using a high-resolution machine. They created a digital archive of more than 35,000 slices of information.
One that we're increasingly using now for the reconstruction is called Maya, and that's what's used by Pixar. So we figure if Maya is good enough for Pixar, it's good enough for us.
Since only 40% of Lucy's skeleton was found, it allowed researchers to reconstruct what they could not recover.
Even though no left tibia for Lucy was ever discovered, we've made a virtual left by mirroring the anatomy of the right.
Dr. Kappelman says the data allowed his team to understand what Lucy experienced in her final moments.
She's a different species, she's not us, but to provide an emotional connection with her in her death, so that in her death, that death brought her to life.
Lucy's bones are kept in a museum in Ethiopia, although they spent 6 years touring the U.S. from 2008 to 2013. Scientists scanned the skeleton when it made a brief stopover in Austin. Going in depth, Lucy got her name from the Beatles song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. The song was played at the archaeological campsite in Ethiopia the night of her discovery. There was lots of singing and dancing and drinking, so no one remembers who exactly gave the skeleton its name.
I hope you enjoyed that. That's amazing. If you have any questions about Lucy, let us know. It's awesome stuff. There's lots of things out there to see. And then the next famous, and I think the most famous of all the artifacts, fossils of the past, is the Iceman.
The Iceman.
Otzi
the Iceman.
Yes, pretty neat stuff. He had a tattoo. Yeah. He was it's amazing stuff. We found all types of things with him. And anything you want to say about it, Coach, real quick?
Well, I think that it's one of history's biggest mysteries. How did this man die? And they actually did some investigating on like his skull and things, and historians and archaeologists believe they know what happened to this man.
And what's cool about it is this: they don't really know, so we're allowed to guess.
Yeah.
So you enjoy this video now about the Iceman, Otzi, and you decide for yourself if you believe those investigators.
September 19th, 1991. High on the icy ridges of the South Tyrol Mountains in northern Italy. Hikers Erica and helmet Simon decided to take a shortcut down from the peak. As they passed a rocky gully, they made a grisly discovery. Jutting from the ice, the head and bare shoulders of a human corpse. His left arm twisted under his body. Leathery skin still covering his bones. The mummy was found here, close to the Austrian and Italian border. Analysis revealed that when he died, he was in his mid-40s. But how long had this Iceman been lying on the mountain? The carbon dating unlocked the shocking truth.
The result was 5,300 years. So this mummy is more than 5,000 years old.
Piecing together the details of this Iceman's life is going to be a challenge. He walked the earth nearly 1,000 years before the Great Pyramids were built. The last populations of woolly mammoths still roamed in Siberia, and the invention of the wheel was still a century away. He's one of the oldest preserved corpses on the planet, frozen in time, locked in ice for thousands of years. The Iceman was given a name, Otzi, after the Otzal mountain range where his remains were found. He lived in a period known as the Neolithic, a time of great change. Farming settlements were just taking hold. For Otzi, hunting was probably still a major source of food. But the nature of his death remained a mystery. With no clues and no firm leads, the investigation recorded cause of death as hypothermia.
The theory was that he just went up there, even just by chance, or maybe he took the wrong way, and then he died of exhaustion and because of the cold weather and so on.
Otzi froze at 11,000 feet, nearly 4,000 meters, on a desolate icy ridge. But now, challenging that theory is archaeologist Dr. Francis Pryor, a specialist in Neolithic life.
All right, welcome back, and we're going to wrap this thing up. So we got fossils, we got artifacts, we understand what archaeologists are and what they do, who they are. So now we're going to talk about how people moved back in the day. And I'm not talking about how they moved like I bought a house and it's time to move. Will you move off of me?
I'm moving closer to...
So we're talking about why they went from place to place. They would actually go live somewhere for a little bit, and then they would have to move. And so their dwellings were very temporary.
They say the first people, this is the most respected story about where humans started. it's not the only story out there. There's a bunch of them out there, and this is kind of controversial if you get into certain groups of people. But we will say that the first people, they started in Africa. That's
Yes.
where they all started out.
Yes.
And because of the situation there, whether they were forced out or they were drawn out, they ran out of food or they were going hunting, whatever, they're going to leave Africa and they're going to go to another place and spread around the entire earth. All right?
Yes. So these people, they would go live somewhere for just a little bit, and people would, what did they eat, Coach? What did these early humans eat?
So the early humans, they were hunters and gatherers. They would eat the food that they would kill and then what they could find. There was no farming at all. They didn't understand that technology. They didn't know how to produce food right in one area. That's going to happen later, actually, very recently in this class.
So if the two of us were to go back 4,000 years, say 8,000 years, let's go back 8,000 or 10,000 years. If it's the two of us in a village, he's going to be the hunter because he's the more manly man. I'm going to be out picking berries, okay? He's going to send me out to go pick the berries and the apples and
No,
stuff.
you're not.
All right. So, but anyways, my point is this. We're living in a certain forest, and once Coach has killed all the squirrels, once Coach has killed all of the meat, and I have picked all of the berries, what do we have to do, Coach?
We're going to have to leave there. And there's a phrase, a term that's actually introduced later in the year. It's called push-pull factors. What is going to push you out of an area? It might be because there might be a bunch of other men that are bigger and hairy than me coming to chase me and kill me and take all my squirrels. It's going to push me out of that forest. Or it might be that there might be some more tasty squirrels over in that forest over there. Or, we're getting pushed out, or we're going to pull into an area for whatever reason. It's typically the resources in that area.
So these people are known as nomads.
Nomads.
Nomads. They lived a nomadic lifestyle, which means they didn't dwell anywhere permanently. They lived there
from place to place.
They moved from place to place.
Food. I like to say it that way. They move from place to place to find their food. Say it with me.
They move from place to place to find their food.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Moving to people, and we'll talk more about this as migration happens around the earth.
And the next time you guys see from us, what you will see next, we are going to move into the next lesson where we will be talking about civilization.
All right. Always believe in yourself
and keep on dreaming.